Welcome to Redefining Engagement. I'm Francesca Duma, Director of Audience Development and Strategy at Contacto. And in this show, I speak to leaders and innovators in the media industry so that we can bring tips, wisdom, ideas, and even some things to avoid so that we can all do more engagement better. So without further ado, let's move on to our next guest.
Hi, Philippa. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. And you, Francesca?
I'm really well, thank you. I'm really looking forward to our chat.
Mm-hmm.
How about we start off with a little introduction? Maybe introduce yourself. Where do you work? Tell me a bit about yourself.
Okay, so my name is Filipa. I'm an editor-in-chief, one of the editors-in-chief of Contacto. We are two at the time. I share the role with Manuela, that is also editor-in-chief of Radio Latina. I will tell you a little bit about Contacto. Probably our audience don't know a lot of the brand. So Contacto is a Portuguese brand media. So we have a newspaper, a website, and we share some synergies with the Radio Latina. And we write specially for the Portuguese immigrants that live in Luxembourg and, for example, the countries, the neighbor countries, for example, France, Belgium, and Germany. Of course, we keep also a point of view in Portugal. We share some information about Portugal because, of course, I'm an immigrant as well, and I'm Portuguese, so I keep my interest in Portugal. But our main focus, I must say, it's Luxembourg. So what we try to do, it's not difficult because I'm an immigrant. We try to put ourselves in their shoes and try to understand, okay, what is important for an immigrant in Luxembourg to know. So, of course, we will write about what's happening in the country. We will do some reports. We will do some press releases, but also we will do our initiative stories. And I think this is, in fact, where Contacto stands out along with other brands. So it's our initiative stories. And I will tell you a little bit more during our interview.
Well, it sounds like you have a really awesome audience because you can connect to the audience. You are one of the audience. I was an immigrant in my country too. So I can understand how people would gravitate towards you, but you must have some challenges with that audience, I'm guessing, because it's a little bit different than other local or different news brands.
Yeah, because, for example, as I said, we have to put ourselves in the immigrant shoes, and just to think about, okay, what is important for this person to know. Of course, we have other brands in the house. We have Luxembourg Wort, we have Virgule that writes in French, we have Luxembourg Times that write in English, and we have different audiences. And we have different roles here. We have different roles to play. Each brand has to think a little bit about their audiences. I will give you some examples how we do our job here. For example, we had the situation of the fires in Portugal. Probably you have heard about the situation. And we want to make this coverage of the fires in Portugal. But of course, you can think, okay, if the Portuguese immigrants want to know news about Portugal, they can go to the Portuguese media brands, They have all of the information and they have access to that kind of information. What do we think? What is the relevant paper role we can do here? What we try to do is send a journalist. We have also journalists in Portugal. We send a journalist to the field to cover the fires, but we do it from a different angle. What we are trying to do is ask him to look for immigrants that went back for their holidays in Portugal, and somehow they had to face the fires, and maybe their houses are being under fire, So we try to look the subject from a different angle. So we try to find out. You have this subject, you have the fires. How can we push it to our angle, to our immigrants? So that's how we work on a daily basis. We use it. We look to the subject and we try to find out how are we going to approach it. Usually that's how we do it.
I love that. So your unique selling point is the angle that you give to your readers.
Yeah, because here in Luxembourg, no one did this kind of job. So of course they reported the fires in Portugal because everyone is doing this. And in Portugal, they also reported the fires, but we gave here a different version, a different angle, a unique, I must say, a unique angle about what was happening. It was happening in Portugal, of course, but the immigrants from Luxembourg were affected as well. Yeah.
And when you talk about audience engagement, like that for me is something that's extremely engaging.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
audience engagement as a term is a bit wider.
yeah, exactly.
What would you describe as audience engagement?
I mean, for me, audience engagement starts when you try to build a relationship with your readers. For example, nowadays we cannot only be focused on delivering some news. I must say we should create some space where the people feel valued. They have to feel, for example, that we work for them and they also have a role in our newspaper. They have space on our newspaper. So, in my opinion, engagement starts when readers are not only consuming our content, but they are also interacting with our articles. And I think Contacto has an important role here in a community like ours here in Luxembourg, the Portuguese community. That also means that sometimes we need to increase or try to increase this connection between people who have the same cultural background but live far away from their country, So people who live in Luxembourg but share the same cultural background, that is Portuguese. I would say, for me, engagement sounds like this.
I love that definition.
Thank you.
I'm on the same page when it comes to the relationship side, and it's almost like an emotional thing
Yeah,
more
exactly.
than a tangible thing, which makes it quite hard to measure, I guess.
No, it is. It is really complicated to measure. Yes, yes, it is.
And
Yeah,
has your we'll go into measurement in a second because I
yeah,
think it's
yeah.
a
We
really
will. We'll
interesting
get there.
point. But has your definition changed around what engagement means? Has it always meant this for you?
Certainly, it has evolved, I must say, along with my professional experience. Back in Portugal, so I came to Luxembourg 2 years and a half ago to work for Contacto. But back in Portugal, I was a journalist and I used to write about politics. And I must say, I have to be honest, I didn't think at the time a lot about engagement by itself, by the meaning or the necessity to create engagement. Of course, I wanted my articles to have success and my stories to be read and to be shared, but I didn't think about the concept at the time. But when I joined Contacto, when I came to Luxembourg, so as I said, 2 years and a half ago, I took some new responsibilities, first as an editor, as a simply editor, and then after as an editor-in-chief. So that's when I started to think really about focusing on creating engagement and what this really means, because it was my responsibility to make the brand grow. And how can you grow? You need to create engagement with your audiences. At the time when I was an editor, we had a different editor-in-chief, and he invented this rubric, I must say, and it really works, so we kept it. So in Portuguese, the name is Contacto na rua. It means contacto on the street.
Mhm.
It's like you try to, well, you are a journalist, you go on the street, and somehow you see a situation with a person. Of course, we try to focus on Portuguese immigrants, but if you somehow find someone who is French, who is Luxembourgish, and has an important, is doing something important, and you somehow see some angle there that you can create a report. So this Contacto on the street are small reports that we do on people that we found out on the street. Sometimes you find a Portuguese worker that is working, for example, under the snow in the winter. Maybe you will share his story because probably you will have some interesting story to tell when he came to Luxembourg, how it's difficult to work under these conditions. So, and somehow, of course, a lot of people will connect with this story because we have other people working under several difficult conditions. Um, Even in the summer here, we will have a really hot day tomorrow. It's not really, it's not often, it's not common in Luxembourg. And we already did this kind of job. For example, the last canicule we had in Luxembourg, we had a journalist. He went to the streets and he found out some workers, construction workers, really they were working on the street, and it's not easy, of course. So we did this kind of report. It's a small report about normal people, but they somehow have an important role in the community. So that's the kind of work we are doing on Contacto.
I think there's two things that I found so interesting in what you've just said. The first is people seeing themselves is so
On the
important.
newspaper. Yeah.
100%. Like, I think, well, that's what, even in Media House, you have a lot of research happening on young people. And that's one of the biggest things that come up every time is young people don't see themselves in the news. And that's one of the reasons why they stay away. And you're doing that kind of like naturally with your immigrant population by actually making sure that they feel represented and
Exactly.
opening that space. And I think that's so fabulous.
You just gave me a great idea to attract younger audiences, because this is really a challenge that we are facing not only in Contacto but on the Media House Luxembourg brands. Of course, we will be talking about that, but it's a great idea to talk with the younger audiences and make them feel that they belong also to the newspaper. Yes,
I
it's
would
a great
love to
idea.
help you with that.
Yeah, let's work in the
Definitely.
future.
I think the other thing that you said that I found really interesting just then was your transition from being an editor to an editor-in-chief.
Yeah.
And from thinking of engagement, almost not thinking really about engagement when you're an editor or a journalist, and moving into a role where that is almost a focus. How are you pushing that mentality to the rest of your team? Like, how are you getting them to think about engagement?
To be honest, it was not hard, because they are used to do the job, because as I said, for example, this rubric, it was not invented for me. It was an idea from the previous editor-in-chief. So somehow I think we have this particularity to write for community, for Portuguese immigrants. So somehow Contacto has this tradition, So when you are a journalist, when you start working on Contacto, somehow you know that it's important to communicate and to make the community feel integrated on the newspaper. So I must say it was not hard to do this job with a team of journalists. They do an amazing job. So I just have to keep working the job that was done in the past. To be honest, I have to be fair. I didn't invent anything here.
Yeah, but what about in other areas of all the other rubrics? How do you? It's the angle. So you mentioned the angle. You've mentioned obviously there's a whole rubric ready for those people. Are there any other ways that you're bringing engagement in?
Yes, of course. For example, another type of work that we usually do. Imagine we receive a press release from the government, a report, for an example, about housing. We can, of course, and we will write about that report. We will have the news about it, the article, but we can go a little further. What do we do in this case? We try to find some people that can give us a testimony about the situation. About, for example, housing, as I was saying. It's really hard to find an affordable house in Luxembourg. We are one of the most rich countries in Europe, but it's not easy to find. We have good salaries, but it's not easy to find an affordable house in Luxembourg. This is really a problem, and the government, of course, is aware of the situation, and a lot of people is struggling to find an affordable house. We are trying. Sometimes we try to find some people that is on this situation, and for example that had to move to the borders, because on the other side the prices are lower than in Luxembourg. So of course they have to commute every day. They have to spend 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the afternoon on the train or on the bus, but somehow they prefer it because they have a more quality of life to live on the borders. We recently did an article about this, and the article was widely read, and it was after translated by the other brands. We have this kind of synergies. So when we have an article that performed really well, and the other brands see they can use the articles, they translate it. And it was about Portuguese people, but the article performed really well also in Luxembourg Wort and Virgule and Luxembourg Times. So that's what we try to do. Not only write about the report, but go a little bit further and how we can make the difference from the other brands. Because the report, you will find it, of course, on the other brands, in all of the other brands. But this vision you will find also in Contacto. And of course, if you feel somehow that you have a genuine connection with the brand, you will of course return and you will share the information with you. That's how I see the engagement.
Yeah. How do you find these Portuguese people to get involved, like at the beginning of that process when you are writing those articles?
Yeah, it's not easy. So we have journalists that have been working for Contacto for several years now. So they have their sources, they have their connections, but we have other ways to find them as well. So Facebook is still really important for us. We have a lot of readers that use Facebook. So sometimes, for example, we receive the report about housing. We write a report about housing. We publish it on Facebook, and then we will analyze the content, the comments on that social media, and probably will find some people to give the testimony. We also have another platform, I think the name is Rhetoric, I guess, that we can add inside of the articles and then create a box for dialogue. So people just go there, insert their comments, they give their opinions. And of course, we have to spend a lot of time to analyzing this kind of answers if we see some potential there. But usually this works like this. You have an article, you publish the article, and then you will see the answers on the social media, on this rhetoric platform, or somehow another person, you have resources. Usually that's how it works.
So you'll do the article first and then go and find
It
out who.
depends. It depends. If we know some cases that we can write about it and contact the person, we will do it and we will write the report. We will write the testimony along with the report. Sometimes we don't find testimony to write when we would like to. And in that cases, perhaps we'll write the article first about the report and then we will have a follow-up, for example, on that article. Yeah, we do it both ways.
And in your experience, what aims does this audience engagement strategy deliver on? Like how are you linking engagement to the business?
I think the strategy of engagement should focus, for example, in how can I say this? Strengthen trust, build some loyalty, and the most important, I think, it's make our journalists more relevant to our community. As I said, for example, when you write an article, of course you are sharing the information, but we want more than that. We want people to open a dialogue on the social media comment boxes, and then that's where we will find the news stories,
And it's great. I totally agree with the strengthening trust and loyalty.
Yeah.
How are you measuring? How are you measuring that?
The difficult question. The difficult
It had
part
to
of the
come. It
job.
has to happen.
Yes. Let's just bite the bullet. Exactly. So it is not easy, of course, and this is a question that usually we talk about in Media House Luxembourg. So of course we want to measure engagement, but we think it's a combination between quantitative and qualitative factors, indicators. So the easiest part, I would say, it's the quantitative side. For example, here in the house, we look at some metrics such as page views, median attention time, social media interactions, comments, for example, the newsletter open rates. We have 2 newsletters per day. So this somehow will help us to understand how much people interact with us. But we have to be honest, content numbers by themselves don't tell all of the story. Of course, we have to pay also attention to the qualitative feedback. And this is the most difficult part. For example, you have an amazing article and the journalist spent a lot of time doing the report and you were not sure if it was going to perform really well, but you decide to take the risk because it is important topic subject for your readers. how we end up somehow not having the performance that we wished. For example, and I'm talking here about page views, but somehow you can measure on the other side. You can see the depth of the comments on the social media. That means that the person took time to really read the article till the end and not only read the first paragraph of the sentence. And sometimes you also, for example, end up receiving some emails about patients that have been on that situation. I'm thinking about an article. We had a series about Alzheimer in Luxembourg. So it was an article written in 3 pieces. It didn't have the page views that we wanted to have because the journalists spent a lot of time. We had the graphic team working along on the project as well. It didn't have the page views that we wanted, but we were proud about this work, about this job, because it really was good journalism. And then we received some comments, some positive feedback, and I think this is really important as well. Sometimes let's not just look to the numbers, to the quantitative side, but also to the qualitative side. That's how
Definitely.
we have to keep the balance. I must say, it's not everything. It's about the numbers. Of course, numbers are an important part of the job every day. When I arrived to the newsroom in the morning, I open my traffic dashboard. Of course, if we are on the green side, I'm happy. If I'm on the red side, I'm not happy. But sometimes it works. It is how it is. So it's a part of the job, and we have to deal with it. And I think we are not. If a journalist come to us, expose an article, an idea, and we are not sure if the article is going to perform, but we cannot think only about the numbers. This is important, as I said, but we have to look on the other side. This is a really important topic for our community, for the country, such as the Alzheimer's. So let's do it. And we have to keep the balance, of course, at the end of the day.
And we're not mind readers either. We
Yes,
don't know
exactly.
for sure. Like, obviously, I completely understand the balance.
No, for example, I know that we know our audience. Sometimes we know the topics that are going to perform. For example, if you write about housing, subsidies, index, do you know the indexation system of Luxembourg? Of course, you are talking about money. Usually, these articles perform on our website and we have good results. The others, we are not sure about it, but we have to try because we also have to conquer and to attract other audiences for the future, And sometimes we think that the article is going to perform really well and it don't. And we have to accept and try to learn some lesson about it. Sometimes when the article don't perform how we expected, we try to understand a little bit, okay, what could have we done better or different? For example, we didn't write on the correct angle. I don't know. It was a really long article, for example. Maybe we should have done a video instead of a report. For example, you have to analyze and then just keep.
Do you ask feedback from your readers directly when stuff goes well or doesn't go well? How do you get feedback apart from looking at the comments and going out?
Directly, no. When I came to work on Contacto, we did a survey and then we asked people to give their opinion on the newspaper, on the website, what they wanted to see. But we did this survey, but on a daily basis, no. We analyze more the comment section or sometimes the emails that we receive directly from the newspaper, but we don't ask them directly, only when the company decides to make these kind of surveys.
Makes sense. And what are the biggest challenges or hurdles in your experience? What do you think is stopping news brands from engaging better?
So I can only talk about my experience here. For example, I think one of the biggest challenges is that sometimes the lack of resources. I have to be honest, when you have small teams, it's not easy to maintain the consistency that we would like. And sometimes, of course, and then you have people on vacation, and somehow you have to manage the daily work. and you still have to find out some time to analyze, for example, as I said, the comments on the social media, the comments on the rhetoric on the articles, try to analyze the potential, and this also takes time, of course. So I would say on our case, sometimes we are a small team, so it's the most difficult part. It's finding the time sometimes to go and chase the story. I think this is the most difficult part on my case, of course.
Yeah, I totally see that. A lot of
Yeah.
people say the same
The
thing.
same thing.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Are there any other challenges that you can think of that are stopping us from engaging better?
It's not our case in Contacto, but I think, and from my experience, for example, on the brands I worked in Portugal, sometimes you don't take time to listen to your audience. You know, you just publish and publish articles one after another one, and you don't take time to analyze and to see what your readers want to read, their needs, for example. And I think this is really important because otherwise you won't connect with their behavior, with their needs. So
Mm.
I think sometimes it's this, you have the pressure of the numbers probably, and you are just publishing and publishing article after article, and you don't take the time to read and to listen to your audiences. I think probably this happens with a lot of brands. It's not our case, happily, but yeah.
It's hard though, isn't it? When you're on the bike and you're
Of
pedaling,
course, of
the
course.
moment you stop pedaling, it's a big
Yeah, of course,
challenge.
because of course, when you are reading the feedback of your readers, you are not writing an article because this is time consuming. But let's just try to compare them. For example, you write an article based on a press release that will have 100 page views. We say it's a ghost article. What is better, to have a ghost article or and write 5 articles and then have 5 ghost articles, or write one article really directed to your audience? I don't know. You have
Mm.
to make the choice. And of course, I think the article that is directed to your audience, to their needs, to their aimings. So I think this what works better, in my opinion, of course.
What strategies have proven the most effective in engaging your audience in your experience?
We have talked about some of them, but I think in Contacto, what really increases engagement, it's when you tell stories about people. It's really amazing, and I think this is how we stand out. It's the storytelling that we do here. If you have an article with a picture of the person that is going through some difficulties, for example, or somehow is really succeeding on their job, this is going to perform really well. So I think this is when you try to personalize. I think this is word, personalize the story. As I said, you have the report. Let's just not do the report. Let's try to find out someone to talk, give some testimony. This is really amazing. The results, when you stop and you analyze the results, this is the kind of articles that our readers want to read. You know, I think this is the most successful strategy on engagement on Contacto. So it's the way you try to find people and bring them to our newspaper, and the result, the success, it's incredible. As I said, and this took time to stop and analyze the numbers. So because the numbers and to measure our engagement, we took some time to analyze what was performing really well. So we saw it's a storytelling, telling stories about people. So this is the path that we are taking in the future. And so, as I said, we have the Contacto on the street and just bringing people to the newspaper. Or, for example, when you have some Portuguese events in Luxembourg, just try to go there and make a report on the subject, take some pictures, and to show the people that they are part of the newspaper as well. I think this is the most important lesson here.
That's actually a fantastic example. I really love that.
I think because it is, as I said, I think if you want to just simply read an article about the price of housing, you will find it on the other brands in Luxembourg. How we
Mm.
can make the difference? It's choosing another angle, and personalizing the story. I think this is the point.
It's so simple, yet it makes so much sense, and it's so easily overlooked when it doesn't necessarily always feel like hard news. And a lot of journalists like the facts and
Of
you're
course, it is
adding
important.
of course, but it's adding that emotional piece because people make decisions based on their emotions.
You find, yes, exactly. You find the right word that I was not finding, emotion,
Mm-hmm.
because we are putting some emotion. We have the hard news; it is really important, it makes part of the job. But then you have the emotion, and you bring some emotion to the article, and you will transform. Sometimes you will transform the hard news into an inspiring story.
Mm.
And we use, you probably have heard this from other people, but in Media House, we use the user needs model. Yeah. And what it shows us, it's like, of course, sometimes newsrooms tend to do more the update me part, and it's really important also. But what really brings engagement and positive feedback and numbers, it's like the other part, serve me articles, the inspire me articles, they give me insight also. So we just need to stop and think a little bit.
I actually interviewed one of the founders of the User Needs
Oh, amazing.
recently. Yeah, Dimitri. And it was interesting because he was saying one of the user needs that is the least used, but actually is a bit of a challenge for publishers is Connect Me. And actually, that is what I'm hearing is that is one of the things that you're doing.
So we don't have that problem at all. I think we have a lot of articles that we select the Connect Me label, because we do this. We select in each article, we have to select the label of user needs, because at the end of the day, you will have to analyze the data. And we don't have that problem because we, as a newspaper that writes to the specific audiences, the Portuguese immigrants, we try to connect with them a lot. So we have a lot of connecting articles. We don't have that problem at all.
So, but it is so interesting because others really do find that one
Yeah.
challenging. So, and it's proof that, and he was also saying that it was one of the challenging ones, but has a lot of rewards from it. And it's
Yes.
nice to hear an example that is
Yeah.
actually
I
representing
think
that.
it's easier for us than for a brand, for example, like the Luxembourg Wort. So they are a really big newspaper and they work for the entire country. It's a small country, of course, but then
The
they work
whole of Luxembourg.
all Luxembourg. But it's not easy for them because they write to the entire country. We write to a specific audiences, and this is easier for us, I guess, to do this kind of connect me part.
And do you have any examples of audience engagement that might have surprised you?
For example, when you ask that question, you just pop out here and just remind of a situation where we received an email from a mother that was really proud of her son because he lives in Luxembourg. He's a teenager and he plays football. And Cici's Portuguese. He lives in Luxembourg, but he's Portuguese. He was selected to join the national team in Portugal under 15, I would say. So he was going to play for the first time with Cristiano Ronaldo's sons. Yeah, she sent us an email to saying that he was available to tell his story, and this for me was really funny and really interesting. Of course, there was a proud mother that wanted to see her son on the news, but on the other side, I saw some different thing here. I saw that the engagement was really working because somehow that person saw, okay, this is the newspaper that shares some information and do some reports about immigrants. They feel valued here.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this was really important. It was just an example, or another one just came out on my mind. I was not there, but the story came to me. So that was a festival here in Luxembourg. Usually, this is annual. This is Festival de Migration. It's a migrations festival, and there were some people representing Contacto over there from marketing. And one person went to them to tell that he is really a fan of a Portuguese team, soccer team in Portugal. So Benfica, the name is Benfica. And he has a whole sanctuary in his house dedicated to this Portuguese team. So he invited Contacto to go there and to do a report and to take some pictures of the whole sanctuary he had here in Luxembourg dedicated to this Portuguese team. I think this is the result of the engagement. When people come to you to tell their stories, they trust you to tell their stories, they invite you to go into their houses. I think this is the sign that you are doing something really good.
That's so special. It's such a
Yes,
special. It's almost like, I guess the question is, how do you scale that so that everybody feels like they can do it? Because you'll have the brave souls who, see it happening and go, I could do that. Whereas it's like, how can we open this idea up for more people, not even just in Contacto, but in general, to
yeah.
engage directly with news brands so that we can become stronger as well? It's
Of course, you have to. Sometimes we also receive some emails, and we don't. We decide not to tell the story because we don't see an angle. We of course have to look into the story and try to find out and try to decide. Okay, is here an angle to tell the story to our public? Is this an angle of reportage? So, and then sometimes we talk. I talk with Manuela, and we do some brainstorming and we decide if we are going along with the story or not. Of course, we sometimes receive other information that we cannot tell because we don't find it relevant to our audience. We have to make some decisions sometimes. Yeah.
of course. And let's talk a little bit about technology very, very quickly.
Okay,
Cool.
technology.
What role do you see technology, like AI, data, everything, playing in your audience engagement efforts?
So talking about AI, it's more difficult. I would say we are still on the beginning of the process, so it's not easy for me to talk about it. But for example, it allows you to analyze your data, and this
Mm-hmm.
is really important. According to the user needs model, as I was saying, you should look into an article and see, okay, this article was widely read and you should do some follow-ups. This is a rule also of user needs. So to do this, you have to take time to do some data analysis. And this will allow us to understand which articles interested our readers and what can we do more on this topic on this subject. And we do this on a daily basis. As I said, I'm editing an article, I'm writing an article sometimes, and I have the traffic dashboard on the other side telling me which articles are being read, mostly read, which ones have better attention time. And this is really important because this helps you to make some data-driven decisions,
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, for example, when we have meetings with our team, they have the journalists have also access to the traffic dashboard, so they can see it on real time as I do. But if somehow they are not really connected with the platform because they are focused on writing the article, when we have meetings with the team, we show the results of the week or of the weeks, and we try to analyze which articles really perform really well and which ones we are going to do some follow-ups and which articles didn't perform as we expected, so what we could have done better. So part AI kind of brought us to this data analysis as well. And on this point of view, I think this is really important because it can show you the path that you should keep going on, because it will show you what readers want to read. And so you should do follow-ups on the article. I think this is one of the most important parts.
It's so easy to skip the analysis when
It
you are
is.
working on it,
And
especially when you're busy.
when you're busy, and for example, as I said, when you don't have good numbers on a day, you just think, okay, I have to write article article after article and just publish and then send a push notification and so on. But let's just take some time and to breathe and to think, okay, let's analyze what do people want to read, what they are reading, what can we do as a follow-up, for example. Yeah, and analyze the data.
Definitely. And how are you integrating feedback and interaction from your audience into this process?
As I said, it's usually, yeah, it's on the meetings. For example, when we do this kind of meetings, we analyzed the data, and somehow we think, okay, let's do a follow up on this story. Who has an idea to do a follow up? And there we create it's the creating process. We start to do some brainstorming, and there we will have some new ideas to work for the week after. Usually that's how we do it.
And maybe we could bring up the future of audience engagement. Where do you see it going in the next maybe 3 years? I'm not going to say 5 or 10 because things change so
That changes
quickly.
quickly. Yes, exactly. When I look into the future of audience engagement, I think it will make the journalism more personalized
Mhm.
and more data driven. So with advanced AI and analytics and so on, media organizations will be able to better understand individual preferences and behaviors of the audiences. So they just need to answer to this kind of needs and these kind of behaviors. And I think also it is really important to increase the use of multimedia platforms such as videos, podcasts, interactive content. And we are doing this kind of job in Contacto. Sometimes when we go to the street, to the field, and we write a report. To write a report, we also go with photographers and videographers to record a video. Somehow we think also this is important to attract younger audiences. So I
Mm,
think in the future this will be even more. I think in the future this will be even more important. Yes, I think data driven and more personalized content articles, because you will be able to better understand your audiences.
definitely. And what impact has this increased audience engagement had on your organization's bottom line and brand loyalty? Is it something that you've managed to measure and see?
It's not easy. For example, I don't know. I can talk about the financial part, the results, because it's not my department. But when I arrived to Contacto, so 2 years and something ago, and analyzing the brand since then, I think we have been growing significantly. And I believe this is the result of the good job that the team has been doing and the creating engagement and so on. And also because, for example, marketing sometimes do some brand notoriety campaigns, and this is really important for the brand to go. So, and proof of this is when people reach out to tell their stories, like the mother of the football player, or like or the other man that wanted to share his sanctuary, the sanctuary at home. So I think when people react and open their houses and their stories for us, it's showing that we are doing a good job. And the numbers, of course, are showing that we are increasing. So I think this is a good result.
Absolutely. And congratulations.
No, thank you. It's the work of the entire newsroom.
Last question for you. If you could offer a hack to someone that's starting out or is in their engagement journey, what would you say that is?
I would say, as I said, take time to listen to your audiences. Instead of just publishing content, and just spend some time analyzing what your audience really cares about. You can do this through comments on Facebook, on social media. You can do this doing data analysis. The insight will allow us to tailor the content to our audiences. And at the end of the day, this is the most important part, to have results. I think that's it.
Fantastic. And
Oh,
I
thank
love
you.
the emotional examples that you've given in all of that. They're so fantastic. Thank you so much, Filipa.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome. I hope I share some important feedbacks from Contacto and what we do here, trying to do. We try to make the difference in Luxembourg media.
And I'm sure you are.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yes. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
Thank you. Bye bye.